Yes, I agree that we're not all called to be politicians, and we all don't need to be politicians to solve our problems. But if each and every individual determines to use the talents and the ability that God has assigned to them and respond proactively to the plight of our nation, that's how we can realize change while consolidating the culture of problem solving, innovation, and entrepreneurship necessary for personal and national economic growth. Some years back, when I was still a little one, I remember myself having a conversation with my father. At first, he was speaking alone while I was listening, but the more he spoke, the more his speech caught my curiosity and drove my mind into the world of questions that couldn't keep me silent without asking him. He was discussing and talking about the poverty in our nation, how it affects the social welfare of people, how it affects the social service provision, how it affects the very machinery that drives the politics of our nation and its leadership. I asked him a question that if our country is poor, why can't the government print more money and give to the people so that the people can become wealthy? In my young age, I couldn't establish the answer. And he answered me in a way that caught my surprise and wonder. He told me that poverty is not the lack of money, but rather the failure of individuals to be productive. So giving money to people cannot really take them out of poverty, because poverty does not mean a lack of money. It means the failure to be productive. So money in its true nature and form is just a piece of paper. What gives it value is what we exchange it with. The more you produce things, the more you attract money, and the more in value the things you produce, the more amounts of money you attract. It looked as a simple conversation, yet it became the spark of a purpose to which I chose to dedicate my life. From there and then, I went on a rampage and a quest on how, why, who, what is the reason, which way, how can we be able to make our people productive, and why are they productive? How can we be able to solve the problem of unproductivity? Why? Why are the people unproductive? Why are these? These, these have been the questions that have defined the existence of my life and its commitment and engagements. And in the process of discovering how can we be able to make the people productive, as far as today, I've discovered that one of the problems that keep people in poverty is that they have not discovered themselves. Self-discovery has to do with understanding. It's a process that has to do with understanding that one's life is commissioned by God to come on earth to solve a certain problem of the people. And the impact that the solution to this problem makes in the lives of others is the one that makes the people to pay you. So it's not all about money, it's all about seeking to become impactful in the lives of others, which attracts wealth and fame. The process of self-discovery, according to my research, cannot be detached from our Creator. We cannot discover the purpose for our existence unless we have a Creator from whom we can be able to determine the reason as to why we are sent on this planet. Very many people can establish their theories that we came from monkeys by the processes of evolution, but much as they can do all what they do, Life can never have a defining reason until we have had a creator on whom we can attach ourselves to establish a purpose for our lives. When you look at the mandate of the creator and his intentions as established in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, which says that then God said that let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowls of the air, and over every living thing that keeps upon the ground. Every word that is encompassed in this verse has a meaning that leads one to self-discovery. First of all, I start with the word image. The statement that God said, let us make man in our own image. Creating us in his own image, God took a portion of himself and invested it in us, meaning that he took his very character, his very discipline, his very image, his very self. He photocopied his very self and invested himself into us. So therefore, we took on the characteristics, the behaviors, and the very traits of God, as he is creative, innovative, loving, forgiving. We also have that nature within our makeup. No any other creature on this planet has tried or has sophisticated its life the way man has. The cows are still eating on the ground, they still eat, they still sleep from outside, but we have invented places for ourselves. We have built shelters for ourselves. There is no any other creature that can modify its experiences and life the way that man does, because we have the creative instincts of God within ourselves. There is no any other creature that can be innovative and creative as man is, because we have the very image, the very character of God. Statement number 2. By investing his image into us, every human being who comes on earth is invested with a talent. The image of God manifests in our lives through the talents that we have. Every human being who comes on earth, over 8 billion of us, is blessed with a talent. Everyone has a talent. Everyone has a unique talent. Everyone has a call that differentiates them from the others. The talents that God invested within us are inherent and within our nature. They are part of us. They are part of our making. Every human being was wired and designed intricately with a certain inherent talent that is part of their natural making. Some people were designed and wired naturally to be engineers, others were designed musically to be musicians, others were designed and wired, capacitated educationally to be teachers, others were designed and wired and talented dramatically to be comedians. Every one of us has an inherent talent that is within their nature, that is within their lives. And when they discover that talent and manifest it, they always do things with ease. Just like you see the bird flying over the space, it does that because that's its nature to fly. The talent of flying is within its nature. So when our talents are within our nature and when we choose to manifest them, when we discover and manifest them, they flow naturally in manifestation without any stress. Just like you see the fish in water as it swims. It swims whether the sea is cool or rough. It makes different maneuvers that makes it survive each and everything because it was designed and wired naturally to swim. Its design and its capacity is all built to give it the ability to swim no matter what kind of wave it meets. So every one of us is designed with a certain talent that doesn't even know any problem, that doesn't even know any mountain, that doesn't know even anything. When God created and gave us images, the word let them have dominion means that we are created to be kings and rulers. Our rulership and our leadership or our governorship over this earth is not meant to be loaded or to be impacted or impressed on other people. We are not meant to rule other people. We are not meant to rule over them. But we are meant to rule, to govern, to manage, to lead in our areas of talentedness. Just like you see that the bird was designed and wired to fly, it was given the authority and the leadership capacity to rule over the space. So therefore, when it comes to the space, the bird is the king. When it comes to the soil, the cows, the animals, the walking animals are the kings. When it comes to water, the fish is the king. The fish cannot get out of water and start flying in the air because that is not where its dominion is. We are all given rulership and governorship over certain areas of gifting. The leadership role that is assigned to us is not a leadership to rule over other people. It's a leadership to lead maximally to full capacity and potential in our areas of talentedness. We also have domains or territories in which we impact our leadership. We use our very talents to make impact in our areas of dominion. And our areas of dominion are not physical places, just like you see our traditional rulers and kings. They are areas of talentedness. Just like you see that the bird is the king of the space, the fish is the king of the water, and the animals are the king of the ground. So therefore, there is no any other creature that can be able to. The animals cannot shine in water, and the fish cannot shine in space. Each and every one has an area of dominion, an area of talent, an area of gifting, in which they exert their dominion. Some of us were designed and wired musically to be musicians. So therefore, our domain of talent is music, is the world of music and creatives. When it comes to the world of music and creatives, we shine so maximally that even no any other person can be able to compete us. Some of us were wired and designed educationally to be teachers. When it comes to the world of education, you shine so maximally that no any other person can be able to do the way you do the things. A talent, our talents can only shine when they are living or when they are operated within their appropriate domains of rulership and governorship. The plant was given the soil as its domain of rulership. It derives its existence and the operation of its life from the soil. The moment you detach it from the soil, it withers and dies. The fish was given the water as its area of talent, as its domain of talent. The moment you remove it from the water, it suffocates and dies because all its life and all its shining, all its existence, all its beauty, all its goodness was intended to be operated in water. We are also designed to operate in certain areas of talent or in certain domains of talent that when we get out of those areas of talent, we cannot be able to fulfill or to manifest our talents or to make or to fulfill our leadership assignment that God gave to us. If you are created to be a doctor, your world, the area of talent in which you are supposed to shine in is supposed to be medicine. The moment you get out of your area of talent and attempt to operate in other areas of talent, you suffocate and die. That's the reason as to why that many of the people are filled with frustration and stress because they are operating in areas of talent in which they are not called to shine in. So therefore, in order for us to fully express our leadership capacities, our natural potentials, our talents must operate within their designated areas of dominion so that we can be able to fully and maximally express our leadership potentials. This takes me to point number 3. Then God said, "Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowls of the air, and over cattle, and over every living thing that creeps upon the ground. There is no any king or ruler that can have rulership without resources, because you cannot fulfill your assignment without the resources being given unto you to fulfill your to fulfill the call and the responsibility that has been entrusted to you. You must have resources that you are supposed to use to fulfill your purpose. These resources are the ones that give you authority. So having responsibility without the power and the authority to make influence and impact into whatsoever area of responsibility that has been assigned to you is like you are makes you to be just, it's a kind of fake authority, it's a kind of fake responsibility. Responsibility always moves with power, it moves with authority, it moves with the ability to command resources into a certain way in order to make a certain impact that your master wants to be achieved. So in our areas of talent, God established various resources: the plants, the fish, the birds, the cattle, the every other living thing that God established under the sun are the various kind of resources that were established within our areas of talent to use to fully manifest our leadership capacity. When God says that I've given you dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowls of the air, and over cattle, he was simply implying that I've given you the power and authority to dictate what the sun shall become, to dictate what iron ore shall become, to dictate what latex shall become, to dictate what cotton shall become, to dictate what coffee shall become, to dictate whatsoever kind of thing that is within the abundance of our lives. He gave us the authority to dictate and the power to control and the power to translate or to transform iron ore into metals. He gave us the capacity to transform cotton into clothing. He gave us the capacity to transform sun into solar energy. He gave us the capacity to transform water into hydro energy. He gave us the capacity to transform He gave us the capacity to transform the soil into bricks. He gave us the capacity to transform the sand into glass. He gave us the capacity to transform avocados into jelly. He gave us the capacity to transform various kinds of things. There is no any other creature that can be able to modify these resources the way man does, because we have the mandate, we have the power, and we have the authority that no any other creature has. Some of us were wired and designed musically to be musicians operating within the domain of music and creatives, using resources like vocal cords, transforming them into melodious music. Others were also designed and wired fashionistically to be fashions, operating within the domain of fashion and garments, using resources like textiles, cotton, transforming cotton into clothing, and crafting textiles into garments that people put on. So therefore, when God gave us our leadership mandate over the earth, He didn't just give us empty responsibility. He also gave us the resources to influence, to use, and to fulfill our leadership assignment. There is no any kind of authority that doesn't have power. And part of power is not only derived from the mandate being given to you, from the moment of being authorized to make impact, but also made by the resources being provided to you or by the instruments of power given to you to fulfill the leadership assignment that is given unto you. The big picture for giving us all of these resources was to make earth look just like heaven, was to make earth look just like heaven. The big picture that was in the mind of God, or the mission that was in the mind of God, was to assign man with this authority so that he can use the responsibility and the power and the instruments he has given to him to make earth look in a way that reflects what happens in heaven. That's why he gave us his very image so that we can use his very mindset and his very thinking to make earth look just like heaven. Just like he thinks what should happen in heaven, we also think what should happen in the earth by the virtue of the image that he gave unto us, which sits in our hearts. Every human being has a role to play in this corporate purpose of making earth look just like heaven. We all living in our fulfilling our designated purposes. We are all supposed to contribute in unity to the corporate purpose of making earth just like heaven. It is not a personal role. It's a role that we all have to play. It's not an individual role. So when every individual shines in their leadership authority given to them, as I've told, we happen to create a culture that makes earth look just like heaven. Everyone is sent on earth. We are commissioned by God to fulfill a certain role, to fulfill a certain purpose. All the resources that are placed under our care are not just given for us to have an entertainment in authority, but to fulfill a certain power, a certain purpose. Community progress, national progress, and social change only happens when every individual feels duty bound that they have a role to play in the innovation, in the improvement of their community. And this is when everyone has a purpose. This is when everyone has a role to play in making a difference in the lives of others. In making a difference in the lives of others. So our purposes are derived from our very communities. And how do we discover this? You discover your purpose from what makes you angry. There are certain kind of things that usually happen in our community that make every one of us angry. There is something that happens within your environment that makes you angry. God's voice is not far from us. God could not make it so complicated for us to discover the purpose for existence. He simply sits and puts us into problems which make us angry. And the anger is produced by nothing, but rather your potential that yearns or that yearns to be born to remedy the problem which the master called it to solve. So in order for you to discover the purpose for your life, you should look and observe what makes me angry. What is it that takes place in my community? What are the social injustices? What are the poor service deliveries? What are the poor makings? What are the unfairnesses? What are the injustices? What is this? What is this? What are the inadequate productivities? What are the lacking things that make me angry? There are various kinds of things that make you angry. For instance, when someone is disgusted or angry with a problem that is taking place in their community. For instance, let's say that it's a problem of, of poverty, the abuse of power and public offices by those in authority. Someone can choose to remedy this problem by maybe if they understand and discover that they are called to be musicians by the virtue of their desire of music, then they can choose to dedicate their talents in to remedy that problem. You can say that I was wired and designed musically to be a musician, not only to entertain people, but also use music as a tool to speak truth to those in power and to also speak bad against the social injustices. Maybe someone else was given the talent to do fine art. Someone can choose that I'm going to use my fine art to remedy a problem. You're doing fine art, you have the talent to do fine art, but there is this problem of social injustice, the abuse of authority, the poverty, the poor service deliveries that make you angry. You can decide to use your fine art to solve this problem. You can say, I was wired and designed artistically to be a fine artist, not only to draw beautiful pictures and images, but also use art as a satire to satirize the evils that those in power are doing so that we can hold them accountable and bring change into the lives of our people. Someone else can say, can be disgusted of by the problem of power blackouts. Power blackouts, the electricity usually goes on and off, and they have the talent by the virtue of their desire, by the virtue of their love. They find that they have the talent to sing. So therefore, you say that I was designed and wired, capacitated technically to be an engineer in order to design renewable energy solutions like biogas, wind energy, to provide reliable and accessible energy to all communities while protecting the environment in the long run. So, therefore, every one of us has a problem that makes them angry in society, and they usually complain a lot. You complain a lot, you feel disgusted, your heart starts racing, you feel so bad. So, the bad feelings and the complaints and the negativity and the disgust is not just something that happens by mistake, it is something that happens by purpose, because that is your spirit, that is your potential that kicks and yearns to get out in order to shine on the problem which it was called to remedy. Every one of us was called for a purpose. Some of us may be disgusted by the problem of poor education. People, young children even reach the mid stage of their primary level without even understanding how to read and write. And then you say that me as a teacher, given as by the virtue of my love for the young kids, for the children, and being disgusted by the problem of poor quality of education that makes it barely hard, that makes it almost hard for every child to be able to read and write. I choose therefore to shine within my leadership authority, my area of talentedness, my area of talentedness to teach in order to express my leadership authority in order to provide education that enables the young kids to understand the basics of education, reading, writing, and very many other things. You might also be disgusted by the problem of poor quality of education and say that I'm called and designed and wired. I'm designed and wired educationally to be a teacher, operating within the domain of education, using resources within my leadership authority in order to provide good quality of education that not only provides learners with skills but also bridges the theories with practice and attaching it to the realities of our society so that they can be problem solvers, innovators, and change makers. So therefore, every one of us is called for a purpose, and our purposes always manifest are reflected by the problems that make us angry. So anything that takes place in society that grieves you, that makes you angry, that makes you feel bad, the feeling is not just all about what. It's about your inner potential that yearns to come out. Some of us can have similar talents, operating in similar domains, but with different purposes. For instance, there might be the problem of social injustices, poverty, abuse of authority, and someone else can choose to respond to this problem not by singing, not by drawing fine art, but rather by joining politics so that they can be able to influence government policy and deliver leadership that is based on accountability, integrity, fairness, and service to the citizens. For instance, the problem of power blackouts, high cost of energy. Yes, someone can respond to this problem not by doing engineering, but rather by joining politics to influence government policy towards creating renewable energy solutions all over the country. So the issue is not uh, that everyone should do what? We all have shared purposes at some point, and everyone commits their energy and uses the talents that they have to commit to that purpose, that's how we can be able to get rid of the problem. We all have shared purposes. We might have different talents, but with a shared purpose. So when every individual commits themselves to solve that problem within their areas of talent, that's when we can be able to create social change. All of us are called to be change makers. We're all called to be agents of change. And that's how we can be able to be impactful. So the impact that your talents make into the lives of others by solving the problems that grieve them or that discomfort them is what makes the people to call you a leader. Leadership is not a privilege. Leadership is not a title that you attach to yourself. It is rather a privilege that comes as a natural result of the impact that you make into the lives of others. The difference that your existence and your talent and your commitment and your efforts make into the lives of others is what makes you to be called a leader. So therefore, the privilege of being called a leader comes as an appreciation of the people about the efforts that you're committing into remedying their problems. And this is what makes them to pay you. So therefore, personal and national economic growth only happens when people develop the spirit of innovation, and this comes when they discover themselves, as we have seen. Self-discovery is the decisive factor in producing innovative, problem-solving, and change-oriented citizens. National progress cannot be realized only when individuals feel duty-bound that they have a role to play in fulfilling this problem. Yes, I agree that we're not all called to be politicians, and we all don't need to be politicians to solve our problems. But if each and every individual determines to use the talents and the ability that God has assigned to them and respond proactively to the plight of our nation, that's how we can realize change while consolidating the culture of problem solving, innovation, and entrepreneurship necessary for personal and national economic growth. When self-discovery is integrated into our education systems, it doesn't only do what, but it sparks the spirit of research. It is the center. It, it is the secret to the organization of the spirit of research, innovation, problem solving, change making, because individuals are now oriented, because individuals will go into diverse areas of talent which they have discovered that they are called in order to provide solutions. So they shall find ways, how can we improve this problem? How can we improve this problem? And in the process of inquisition, in the process of research, in the process of what, they shall be able to come up with solutions, with innovations that make national growth realized. So therefore, we are not called just to be here, to go to school, graduate, have a job, have a nice car, build a nice house, and then get married. We have a role to enforce into our people that our purposes for our existence, even through our schools, we have a role to teach our children. We have a role we have a role to make every individual aware that our purpose for our existence on earth is much bigger than just going to school, drive a car, drive a nice house. We have a role that is bigger than that. So on the process of my research about how can people be productive, how can people get out of poverty, how can we be able to remedy the problems of poverty, how can we be able to improve the social welfare of our people, the service deliveries, the quality of services they experience, is all attached to self-discovery. Understanding that we all as human beings, 8 billion of us on this planet, we all have a role and a purpose that we must fulfill here. And the difference and the impact that our purpose, our commitment to our purpose makes into the lives of others is what makes them to pay us. So the goal is not all about seeking money and wealth, it's about seeking to become impactful and valuable in the lives of others. That's how we can be able to attract money and wealth that all of us admire. We should have a big picture, a big purpose, a bigger purpose that goes beyond just that goes beyond driving nice cars, building a nice house, having a nice job, having a nice title, and then when you go to the local functions or the community functions, they call you doctor, what. We should have a bigger vision to make impact in the lives of others. We should own the role to solve a problem, to solve our problems, and not wait for others to solve them, and not wait for others to create those businesses so that we can be our employees. We should have that. We should have the feeling. We should develop that initiative and a proactive mindset that we are all called to be problem solvers. And the problems that we complain about, it should not all end at complaints, making complaints there and there. It should go as far as being proactive and taking initiative, being the solution, being the answer to your own prayer of change, being the solution to your own problems that make you angry. Never justifying the injustices done by other people by your silence. When it requires you to speak, go out and speak. When it requires you to act, go out and act. When it requires you to open that business, go out and act. When it requires you to open that factory, have that big dream. Don't cast it away. When it requires you to open that plant, go out and make it. Our role is bigger than that. There is no any race that was called to create factories. There is no any race that was called to create plants for making vehicles, for making electricity, for making energy, for making dynamos. Every one of us is assigned with his talent. When everyone discovers the talent that they have, whether we are Banyankore, Bachiga, the goal now is not with that who we are Banyankore, Bachiga, Batoro, Basoga to segregate ourselves, but rather we recognize that we are all created from God and we have the image of God, and we all have different problems that we are called to solve on this earth, and we, all of us, our purposes are interdependent. Everyone needs the other in order for us to exist and survive. We can be able to realize a world where we have no villain or victim, but rather victors.